There's a roll. It's a lot easier at 3Gs. Welcome to space, everyone.
Yeah.
Good to be back. I don't remember liftoff being quite that violent. I do.
Yeah, I do too. Yeah.
It looks like we'll use a little bit of Y. That may help us with the null anyway.
Rendezvous concurs.
And we concur.
Flight GNC.
GNC.
Flight, I want to give you some words. With that MDM failure of FA3 and our potential FA4 card 4 problem, that would take two channels on RIB and ROB, which would make us PLS. Right now, because we recovered the FA3, we are not in that situation. And in order to clear the FA4 card 4 problem, we'll have to go to Ops 8. I would recommend doing that once we dock. This does not change our go for docking, though.
Okay.
Or go for rendezvous, I suppose.
All right, so help me out here. Rib and Rob didn't encounter that one in any of my training.
Copy, Flight. There are 4 elevons, lob, lib, rib, rob. Left outboard, left inboard, right inboard, right outboard.
Fair enough. Okay. All right, I get it. So we'll try to clear that fault once we can go to Ops 8. You want to do that post-dock?
That's correct, Flight.
All right, but technically we're PLS now, but we think we'll be able to clear it.
Flight, right now we are not because we recovered FA3.
Okay. If we
lose it again, we will probably call ourselves PLS, and we are in a good config for MC1.
Okay, got it.
Flight fighter, it's a good burn.
Thank you.
Ops 201.
Copy 201.
Flight rendezvous.
Go ahead.
We're showing MC2 right now, 47 seconds late. Also, the out-of-plane null will occur in about 17 minutes. We'll give you a heads up when it's about 5 minutes away.
Thank you.
Flight GC, we're checking with the network on the forward link here.
Thank you.
And Flight GC, equipment failure at White Sands, we're selecting over equipment.
Okay, thank you.
Flight GC, we've recovered, go for command.
Okay, guys, flight is going to take his first break of the day. Be right back.
Houston, Atlanta, RPOP.
FAO's here. We're listening.
Go ahead, Rex.
Okay, you see, we have a little bit of an interesting dichotomy between RPOP and RPOP2 right now. RPOP is receiving PUCMU data just fine, and it looks like a good range of 47,000 feet. Now, RPOP2, it was receiving PUCMU data earlier, and it's got a PCM above F6, but the range is like 30 million feet. And so I don't have the message. It's not receiving PUCMU data, but when I switch the config to go over to the hard line, it doesn't receive PUCMU data. So I'm not quite sure why its state vector is bad. But any words you can give me would help. Now, earlier I did try both hardline and wireless. They both worked.
We copy Capcom. We'll see what we can figure out.
Well, that's an interesting problem. Thanks, Rex. You explained it very well. We'll get the PGOC and RPOP guys to think about that.
And we just ran Pingmaster, and everything's talking to everything.
Okay, there's question number one. Thanks.
Station Houston Space Ground 1 for exercise constraints.
Think we locked up on the big loop?
Flight Inco?
Have we locked up on space to space?
Negative flight. We're expecting another 10,000 feet.
Okay.
Houston Atlantis for RPOP.
Go ahead, Rick.
A little more information. The raw rendezvous radar data via PUCMU displayed in yellow. We're on state vector display. It shows the correct range. It's about 42,000 feet. However, obviously the big numbers shows a 30 million feet still, and the prop H says minus 945,827, and the MET is also messed up. So I'll be glad to reboot the machine, but I just want to let you guys know what we saw before we did that.
And we copy flight. Let's try the reboot, and then we'll troubleshoot from there.
Let's go for the reboot.
Okay, Rex. Yeah, boy, if the MET's not right, then it's not going to get the rest of that stuff right, is my guess. But let's go for the reboot.
Okay, and work. Thanks.
Flight rendezvous?
Go ahead.
What we're showing on the ground is we're about 5 minutes away from the out-of-plane null.
Copy. Thank you.
Atlantis Houston, heads up about 5 minutes to the out-of-plane null.
Copy. Thank you.
2 minutes to a teacher's handover.
Flight Ecom.
Ecom.
Just a quick heads up, the WHC is going to be unavailable until further notice. We would have had an item in our leader words today reminding the crew to use it as much as convenient, so we'll need to just call them and tell them that's not an option until further notice.
Okay, Ecom, I copy.
Handing over.
Any words on what's taken down the WHC?
Flight Ecom, I'm not sure what took it down, but other higher priority items are preventing troubleshooting.
I can appreciate that. Okay.
And shuttle flight also.
Also?
There's a check separator light on the WHC, and we're putting a troubleshooting plan together for our side.
Thank you.
AOS Teacher C, go command.
Houston Atlantis, we rebooted up to, and it's working great now.
Good news.
Oh, that's great. Thanks, Rex.
And we copied flight. It looks like the out-of-plane null was completed, or in the process of being completed.
Thank you.
I think we're going to change your name from Rex to Fix.
Fergie's groaning.
flight, rendezvous.
Rendezvous.
Got a good match on intermediate MC2. We're seeing it slip out a little. It's 2 minutes and 7 seconds late right now.
Copy.
Atlantis Houston with no hurry. Circuit breaker check panel L4.
Go ahead on L4.
Panel L4, it's the right-hand panel, row November. Second one from the left, Freon Loop 2, pump Bravo, phase Bravo.
That's in, Stevie Ray.
Cycle it with a mark.
Okay, it's in. We'd like to cycle it once with a mark, please.
Ready, 3, 2, 1, mark. That's open. Ready, 3, 2, 1, mark. It's closed.
Okay, thanks very much. We'll let you know if we need anything else.
And Flight Econ, we got it back. We're in a good config.
Got the magic fingers. Thanks much.
And it looks like that gave us back the circuit we needed. Thanks.
DPS flight.
Flight DPS.
Let's see, we might be in a good config here for the duration, but in the event that there's something that you might want us to do with stringing for approach and dock, be thinking about that, and let's find a convenient time to talk about it.
Copy, flight.
Station Atlantis on the big loop, comm check. Station ASC loud and clear, Atlantis LS. We read you the same, we'll be there in a few. All right, welcome, that's ready.
Flight Inc., that was a good comm check on the big loop.
Very good.
Flight Rendezvous?
Go ahead.
We did get a good match on the final MC2 solution. 2 minutes and 25 seconds late. I have the new TIG time if you want it.
Okay.
It's 1:21:59:59.
All right, very good.
And we also need the filter prop on the bottom of the bus.
on Air Ground 2, bottom of final targeting of 18 Bravo. Here comes your filter prop.
We'll take it.
We're watching.
One minute to a teacher's handover.
Houston Atlantis on Air Ground 2 for TPS.
Go ahead for TCS.
Okay, in step 2, the TCS power up. I turned TCS power up on, got the great talk back, and the self-test box came up for a little bit, but it got buried. I'm not sure where that is, but there's been some error indications on the TCS ops display.
Flight Agency, can you have them read down exactly what they're
copy.
saying?
It's the TCS ops, the mode is standby, the Z latch is unlocked, the CW is active, but pulse is failed and the self-test box has failed.
Did you copy all that, GNC?
Flight, I believe I did. Give us a few minutes.
Okay.
Okay, Rex, thanks for the data. We copied all. We've got the rendezvous folks looking at it.
Okay, and let me know if you want to do a self-test again so I can see what the self-test box says.
Okay, we'll let you know.
Ops 202.
Handing over.
Copy 202.
Go for command 171.
that as the good burn.
Copy.
Flight prop.
Go ahead.
A few minutes ago, we lost an indication for our F3 driver power, except the F3s are redundantly powered, so we still would have one good power source if this indication is real. We have a troubleshooting step that we can do that's pretty easy to determine whether it is real or if it's telemetry. So we'd like to go ahead and do that so prior to RPM we know what we've got for redundant power to the F3s.
Okay, what's the step?
On panel 016, row Foxtrot, we need to take RJDF 2 alpha F3 manifold logic switch to off, wait 10 seconds, and then turn that back to on. And that'll give us a chance to look at what happens with our logic RPC to evaluate if the driver RPC indication is real or if it's telemetry.
Okay. 016 Fox RJD F2 alpha F3 manifold logic switch to off for 10 seconds and then back to on. We lost the indication on F3 and want to know if it's telemetry only or if we've actually lost redundant power.
Those are good words.
All right.
Houston, Atlantis, Sarah ground 2. Looks like we're complete now on 4-19, heading to 4-21.
We concur, flight. We're following along.
Copy and concur, Atlantis. And Atlantis, when you get a minute, I've got a switch throw for you on panel 016. No big rush.
Yeah, go ahead. I can get it.
Hey there, Sandy. Good to hear your voice. We are trying to do a troubleshooting for redundant power on the F3 manifold. So on panel 016, row Foxtrot, third switch from the left. It's RJDF 2 alpha F3 manifold, the logic. Take it off OFF for 10 seconds and then back on.
Good words.
Okay, we'll put that in work.
Thank you.
Flight Max. Max. We've got a right vent door 6 close 1 indication that's failed on. This inhibits my close redundancy.
Thank you, Sandy.
This inhibits my close redundancy for that vent door. So I'm going to need to put vent door RTCs in work and close that vent.
Okay, you got to go for that. Prop, what did we see?
Flight prop, unfortunately, it looks like we have lost redundant power to the F3s. So we've already started talking with both Rendezvous and GNC about next worst fails, and we'll continue to look at that and get you a story.
Okay.
Station Houston, Atlantis on the big loop. We have ISS in sight.
Houston copies.
Shuttle flight, station flight, your loop.
Go ahead.
And
We've been unable to successfully command over to Russian thrusters. We're still on USCMG control. We're still in attitude, but troubleshooting the attitude handover issue.
Okay, got it. Any constraint to RPM?
Yeah, we've got to be in attitude for RPM, and we'll assess our attitude error. It may be acceptable for RPM, but we haven't gotten to that point yet.
Okay.
Rendezvous copy flight. We do have some time in the window. We'll be station keeping for about 12 minutes minimum.
Copy that.
Flight DPS.
Go ahead, ma'am.
I have a story on proxox stringing when you're ready for that.
I'll take it.
Okay, Flight. 2133 looks good for proxops, and we'd like to stick with that. However, this might be a good time to talk about impacts if we lose GPCs 1 or 3 and the stringing there.
All right.
Okay. Since we haven't tried GPC 2 on strings 3 or 4, we do not know if GPC 2 can command on flight criticals 3 or 4. So worst case, if we have GPCs 1 or 3 go down, we would string with a dual MBAP 2-1, 2-1, or 2-3, 2-3. And worst case, we would be down half of a string on string 3 or 4.
Mm-hmm.
And that would be a trade-off case where we could port mode between FA3 or FA4.
Okay, I understand it. So if we lose GPC 3, we'd consider 2-1-2-1 or 1-2-1-2, given that right now we don't know if GPC 2 can command on strings 3 or 4.
And that would be a 2-1-2-1 flight because we do know that GPC 2 can't command strings. It's all of string 2.
Okay. All right, I understand. All right, fair enough. That's a good signal. We'll stand pat for now, and we'll consider that if we take that next source failure.
Flight TNC.
TNC.
But I have some words on TCS for you.
Okay.
We'd like the TCS to be power cycled, and then we'll pick up in step 2 of TCS activation, and we'll see if the power cycle has fixed it. If not, I will have further words for you.
Okay.
Atlantis Houston Air Ground 2 for TCS.
Go, Stevie Ray.
You're recommending to power cycle TCS on L12 and then pick up with step 2, which actually starts with the power on for TCS. So basically power cycle it and start over in the software ops.
Okay, we'll go ahead and do that, thanks.
Flight Ecom for supply water leak.
Ecom.
We're seeing what looks like a small supply water leak on the order of 10 pounds an hour. I have some switch throws when you're ready to copy to try and isolate this.
Okay, at this point, okay, fair enough. Let's have the switch throws.
On panel L1, we need flash evap controller, pry Bravo to off. And then on panel R11, lower.
Okay.
Supply water, B supply, ISOL valve to close, talkback closed.
Okay.
And then on ML31 Charlie, supply water, tank delta, inlet and outlet, 2 valves, both to close, talkback closed.
All right, on L1, we want flash evap controller pry Bravo to off OFF. On R11 lower, supply water Bravo, supply ISOL to close, talkback closed. And MO31 Charlie or ML?
Mike Lima.
Mike Lima, 31 Charlie. Supply water tank delta inlet and outlet, 2 valves to close.
Good words.
Get it. Let's see, at this point, Ecom, we don't know if the water's into the cabin or external, right?
That's affirm.
Affirm.
Atlantis Houston, we are trying to isolate a potential water leak. So I'll need 3 switches, 1 each on L1, then R11 lower, then downstairs ML31 Charlie.
Okay, Stevie Ray, just to let you know, on the power cycle, with CADs running, we still come up with the same pulse failed and self-test failed messages. And go ahead with the 3 switches.
Okay, we'll think about that.
Copy on the TCS software, thanks. Starting with L1, Fergie, flash evap controller, pry Bravo, center position OFF.
Okay, Seth's pry B is coming off OFF. That's complete.
Sounds good. Next one is R11 lower.
Go ahead.
Supply water tank, or Bravo supply ISOL, closed with a closed talkback.
Okay, Bravo supply ISO valve is coming closed.
Flight Rendezvous, we'll go with the onboard.
Copy.
Okay, Stevie Ray, we're ready for the mid-deck switch.
Okay, first of all, the onboard solution looks good. You can burn that. And on ML31 Charlie, we'd like the supply water tank delta inlet and outlet, 2 valves closed with talkbacks.
Okay, tank delta inlet and outlet both are closed, and that's coming closed right now. Showed 2 good talkbacks.
Outstanding. Thanks. That's it for water for now.
Flight Ecom, we see a good config we're evaluating.
Thank you.
Flight Inco.
Inco?
Our protect boxes 30 and 40 are enabled on board per flight note 1.
Thank you. GNC, TCS.
Flight GNC, I have words for you. Would you like to stand by for MC3?
Yeah, let's do that.
Shuttle flight, station flight, we are on Russian thruster control.
Okay, let me know when you're in the docking attitude, please.
Copy.
Flight GNC, good config for MC3.
Copy, thank you.
Flight 5, that's a good burn.
Copy. All right, GNC, let's talk TCS.
Okay, Flight, we tried power cycle. Unfortunately, it looks like we have the exact same signature again. What I'm recommending is have the crew go to override on their TCS command and display interface and select pulse laser. If it does not say available, then to select available.
Houston Atlantis, HHL showing 5,003 feet, good agreement with TCS.
Thanks for the report.
Full state vector.
And we copy, Flight.
Okay, go to the TCS display, select override, and then pulse laser.
That's correct, Flight. And then we can pick up in step 3 of TCS activation. Right now, based on what we're seeing, I don't think that the pulse laser will be working, which means that we will not be able to get any TCS data until a range of less than 1,300 feet.
So this is kind of a Hail Mary, but we don't expect it to work.
That's correct, Flight.
All right, can we just live without the TCS data until we get into the range where the continuous laser will provide us the data?
GNC can live without it.
In Flight Rendezvous, we have radar and HHL. I think the crew will be fine.
Okay, so if we stay in the config we're in, do we want to give them some instructions for proceeding, or what do we want to do if we just want to stay in?
Flight, at the very least, we should continue with TCS activation steps 3 and 4.
Okay. I tell you what, though, the override's simple. Let's try the override. Let's override to pulse laser, see if that works. If it doesn't, we'll just press with TCS ACT steps 3 and 4 and wait until we get to within 3,000 feet to get the data from the continuous.
And Flight Capcom, I can't quite remember. Is override a menu?
Yes, Flight. If you go to the TCS command and display interface, there's a file, macros, commands, override, config, window, and help across the top. And override is one of those options.
Okay.
Thank you.
Flight Max.
Max.
I'd like your go to get the event RTC on board.
Flight Rendezvous?
Rendezvous?
Can see what the override looks like up there on the big screen.
Roger that. Thanks for that.
And we did see the crew do block 20 Bravo.
Copy. Inco, your go to put Max's vent door RTCs on board.
Inco copies.
Hey, Houston, just on the HHL status, it's really close to the state vector, which is great, and station's pretty much right on the center line, so we're really happy with HHL. Looks like nav is good, too.
Good news.
Okay, real good. Thank you. We've got one more troubleshooting thing to try with the with the TCS, but it could be that the pulse laser, which is the long-range guy, will be down and you won't get good TCS till within 1,300 feet. But if you have an extra hand to go to the TCS software.
And ready with the TCS steps.
Okay, go to the override menu, select that from the top of the page, and then slide down and select pulse laser, if you would.
Okay, that's complete.
Yeah, what did it feed back to you? When you selected pulse laser, what was the response?
Looks like TCS self-test came up.
Okay, what's called GNC?
Okay, thinking about it.
Flight, that was completely unexpected. I see that message, self-test complete. Flight, let's just...
The self-test is now override, though. It used to be failed.
Okay. Flight, we'll stay in that config and press with steps 3 and 4.
We'll take steps 3 and 4 TCS Act and stay in this config.
Okay, we're going to leave it right where it is. Let's take steps 3 and 4 of TCS activation, page 7-18, and we'll go from there without the pulse laser.
Okay, steps 3 and 4 TCS Act.
Thank you, Rex.
Flight rendezvous.
Rendezvous.
Just to tag up, we did see a good preliminary MC4 solution. We're all caught up to the TIG minus 3 minute step on page 421.
All right, very good. Good tag up. Thank you. For the flight control team, we're going to arrive on the R-bar here in the not-too-distant future. If you could please check your flight rules and your system status. If you go for the RPM, please give me a green. If not, you can go amber, and then we'll talk about your constraints.
Flight rendezvous, good match on MC4. They're go with the onboard.
Go to burn the onboard. Copy.
Atlantis, good MC4 numbers. You go to burn the onboard.
Copy, go to burn the onboard.
TCS activation, step 3 and 4 complete for automatic acquisition, max range was 10,000.
Copy, Rex. And again, the range where we'll expect to get it is less than 1,300 feet.
Copy, thanks.
Prop flight.
Flight prop.
See, actually we're a minute from MC4, so let's talk your RPM constraints post-burn.
Copy.
Flight GNC.
GNC.
Good config for the burn.
Thank you.
Burn in progress.
Copy.
Flight fighter, that's a good burn.
Good burn, thank you. Okay, for the team, we are headed over to the approach queue card. I'm on page 9-7 of the checklist. Prop flight.
Flight prop.
All right, let's talk constraints to RPM.
Yes, sir. The scenario that we are in, the F3 jets are redundantly powered. We've lost one leg of that redundancy. So our next worst fail is main A. If main A were to go down, then we lose both the F3 jets and the F1 jets, which puts us in the case that we lose low Z attitude control and VERNs. So then the question becomes, are we really in a different scenario than if we already had a single downjet failed, and we accept the risk that for that next downjet failing?
Houston, near to ground 2, 1630 on the HHL.
Wait, copy flight.
Copy.
Copy, Atlanta.
Okay, go ahead, Prop.
So then if the next downjet were to fail, if we could recover it, then we would be looking at a re-rendezvous the following day. If we can't recover, then we cannot press in and dock. So in my mind, I think we are go for the RPM, but it's definitely worth discussing given that we're one fail away from losing low Z attitude control and VERNs.
Okay. And so for this case, you know, we would have, what does our redundancy look like for approach and dock? For instance, and I guess let me ask my question a different way. Do we have similar redundancy concerns for approach and docking regardless of whether or not we do the RPM?
Yes. Right.
Okay.
So if we don't do the RPM and still press in, we would still be in the same scenario that main A could fail at any time, and we would lose low Z attitude control and VERNs.
Okay. But we would still have norm Z attitude control, correct?
We would still be able to brake using norm Z, yes, sir, that's right.
Okay, and then it becomes a loads concern from there.
Yes, that's correct.
For ISS. Okay. All right. Is there, let's see, Max, are you with us?
Say again, flight.
I was just wondering if you were listening to the conversation here.
Negative.
Okay. So concerned about loss of redundancy to the F3 manifold logic. So we're susceptible to a failure of main A. Is there any kind of IFM option that could restore the redundancy?
Not off the top of my head, Flight. I'll have to check with IFM.
Okay. But Prop, you feel that, so let's just say we start with the RPM. If we do take that failure of main A, I think from the expected trajectory, we would basically sort of spin out, if you will, and have to look at a re-rendezvous tomorrow after we regain control, if I recall correctly.
Flight rendezvous, that's correct.
Okay.
Go hands-off is always agreed.
Yeah. Now, if this happens to us on approach and dock, we...
In flight rendezvous?
Yes,
Sorry
sir.
to interrupt.
Please.
For the RPM, we really only use the downfiring jets to set up the conditions.
Right.
So it has to be a smart failure that occurs right at RPM start. So that's a real small window. It's more the concern is approach and dock.
Right, and that's kind of where I was getting to. So if we take a failure of main A during approach and dock, break using norm Z, and then think about doing a breakout?
Flight rendezvous, I think I would send them to page 539. It's basically the big ugly case. It would put us down a loss of both FXD jets, and they could just follow those procedures. But that's correct. We'd have to see where we are in the corridor, break in norm Z, and then see if we can back out far enough, because we would also lose out-of-plane control.
Okay.
Which, if they're in the center of the corridor, shouldn't be a problem at that time. We should have plenty of time to back out.
Okay.
But I would still want them spring-loaded for 539 and 540.
Okay. And so basically, it's a single failure right now in the configurant. It's a single failure, loss of main A that would get us into this case, correct?
That's correct. FLC-1 loses low Z attitude control. It also takes the F1s and F3s. At that time, we still have burns, though. So it's a slightly better case, but it's still both yaws and both downs. So we would still have to break out.
Okay. Station flight, shuttle flight.
I'm on your loop. Go ahead, Quad.
Okay. Did you copy any of that?
Yes, I did.
All right. Do you have any concerns with us proceeding with RPM and approach and dock, recognizing that we're that for a single failure of main A, we'd be loss of 2 forward firing down jets. We'd essentially have to break in norm Z, depending on where we are in the corridor, and then break out. I think the risk is low, but I don't want to proceed without your team understanding where we are.
I'm comfortable with you pressing in like that. I followed the discussion, and as long as the prep words are given to the crew, I think that's acceptable.
Okay. All right, guys. We're going to go ahead and press with the RPM. Let's see, GNC. Do you have any additional constraints against the RPM? GNC flight.
Flight GNC.
Do you have any additional constraints against the RPM?
No additional constraints, flight.
Okay. And Prop, anything else that we need to talk about for you?
Negative, Flight. I don't know that we specifically said it, but in the event that we could recover the capability and that smart failure happened at RPM initiate, we do have re-rendezvous capability for the following day from a propellant standpoint.
Or propellant perspective. Okay, very good. Thank you. We'll give the word to the crew, and then we'll plan to press in.
Flight Ecom.
Ecom.
I would like to close the loop on supply water real quick. We've isolated the leak down the B feed line, but there is still a possibility that this water is in the LEB. There's a segment of line between the valve and the bulkhead.
Okay.
We think it's low likelihood, and in light of the crew size and how busy we are today, we are comfortable pressing in. Typically, we would be asking to get down there and look for any water and potentially clean it up.
Okay. All right. We'll just let them know that we did isolate the leak, and we'll talk about cleanup a little bit later. We think there's low likelihood of a significant amount of water.
Flight Max.
Max.
Flight Max, we had no joy on our vent RTC.
Really?
Really. So we have confirmed that the indication is really feeding into the motor logic. The other motor that we were expecting drive on is powered off of the AC2 mid-4 bus. We, however, did not see any drive. We did see verification that the command was going out.
Okay.
So at this point, I cannot close that vent door.
Hey, Houston, that's still real good correlation with the HHL and the state.
Okay. Max, executive summary. Right now, do we have a constraint to docking, or are we PLS?
We're PLS with the AC2 mid-4 bust down. However, we're CS if I can't get that vent door closed. So I recommend we go and dock.
Okay. And we have some potential options for troubleshooting and recovery?
Maybe.
Okay. We'll go ahead and dock.
Concur.
Atlantis, Houston on the big loop. Fergie, we heard only the first half of your transmission where you said you had good matchup between HHL and state vector.
Flight Rendezvous, they're just happy with
loop,
NAV.
That is a correct copy, Stevie Ray, and we're showing right now about 850 feet.
Roger that. We know you're waiting on us here. Let me just tell you a little bit about your jets if you have a sec.
Go ahead and understand we got something wrong with air-to-ground 2.
No, I want to use the big loop for this.
Go ahead, we're ready to copy.
Forward manifold 3 logic, we've lost redundancy on that. That puts us in a case where if we lose main A, we lose low Z attitude control and Verns, which puts us in the loss of 2FXD case 5-39. So we'd break in norm Z and break out. If we just lost FLC1, it'd all be the same except we'd still have Verns. But both station side and shuttle side are comfortable with pressing in that way, and so you have a go for RPM and a go to proceed inside 600 feet.
Okay, copy the words, thank you, and we're go for the RPM and go to proceed inside 600 feet.
Flight Rendezvous.
Rendezvous.
We would like them to review page 539 in case of that next failure.
Okay.
It does have some constraints for low Z braking and what to do for pry and tail options.
Okay.
Atlantis Houston back on air to ground 2, and just one addendum on that. If we do have to get that smart failure and we have to break out, we do have re-rendezvous capability with our prop for tomorrow. So we've all got page 5-39 pulled out and reviewing it.
Flight GNC.
GNC.
Flight TCS is not working properly. I have another troubleshooting step for you to try. We'd like them to repeat step 4 in TCS activation, this time entering a range of 1,000 feet.
Okay. Step 4, TCS act, entering a range of 1,000 feet.
Good copy.
Flight Inco for the approach queue card.
Inco.
If we could have the crew perform the radar output to low that was called out at 800 feet.
Radar output to low, please.
Affirmative.
Atlantis will take radar output to low.
Good words.
Okay, let's see. Before we go up with the TCS call, so Max, review for me again where we are with vent doors. The RTC didn't work, so we think we've lost which bus?
The AC2 mid-4. I have the nomenclature for a circuit breaker check when you're ready.
All right, let's have the circuit breaker.
It's MA73 Charlie, row Delta. Circuit breaker, MCA power, AC2, 3-phase, mid-4.
Flight Inco.
Inco?
We could call that call up again on the big loop. Oh, looks like they got it.
Okay. All right, so if it's out, obviously we'll leave it out. If it's in, Eagle, do we want to cycle it?
Flight Max, I want to hold on cycling it until we do another RTC and attempt to have the commands out there and cycle it under load.
Cycle it under load, okay. I understand. All right. Let's get the circuit breaker check, and then let's get the TCS step.
Okay, Atlantis Houston, air to ground 2. We'd like a circuit breaker check on MA-73 Charlie.
Flight and go. Let's try a comm check on air to ground 1.
Atlantis Houston, comm check air to ground 2. We haven't heard a response on air to ground 2 for a while.
Flight rendezvous?
Rendezvous.
Just to tag up, we're caught up to the RPM start. They did do the RPM setup block, block A. We got 12 minutes of station keeping.
Thank you.
Atlantis Houston on the big loop, not being able to pick you up on air to ground 2, so I've got an MA-73 Charlie circuit breaker check when you get a chance.
Go ahead, Stevie Ray. Rex is standing by.
Okay, Rex, MA-73 Charlie, row Delta. It is the third one from the right. MCA power AC2, 3-phase, mid-4.
Good read.
That circuit breaker is closed.
Thank you.
Max copies.
We also have one more thing on TCS for Rex when you get a chance. It'll be page 7-18.
And GNC flight?
Flight GNC.
Yeah, this will be the last thing we try.
Flight IM.
Station and Houston, Atlantis on the big loop. We're about 10 minutes to RPM start, and Stevie Ray, go ahead for TCS for Rex.
Okay, this is the last thing we'll try, page 7-18, TCS Act. Step 4, use at 1,000 feet.
Station copies, 10 minutes out for RPM. And Rex copies, Stevie Ray.
Thanks, Atlantis.
Ecom got a rough guess as worst case amount of water we might have in the LAB.
Flight Ecom, we're estimating worst case about a half a gallon.
Okay.
Stevie Ray for TCS on air ground 1. I did step 4 again. To do that, I had to basically deselect auto acquisition and reselect it, and it gave me the 1,000 feet, so I put that in.
Okay, thanks, Rex. We won't flog that particular horse any longer. I do just want to let you know, no action for you. We were isolating leaks there. Fergie did some panels, and you too. Looked like we probably isolated a water leak in the BC line. Worst case would be a half a gallon. We'll go look for it later.
Okay, we copy, thanks.
In-flight GNC, we copy TCS. We're standing down.
Okay, thank you. Looks like since we've got good agreement with HHL that we're probably in good shape.
GNC concurs.
Okay.
Flight Inco.
Inco.
To help isolate the air-to-ground 2 problem, if we could have the crew perform a quick comm check from the mid-deck on air-to-ground 2.
Let's try it on the Torva.
Copy, flight.
And Inco, I assume you're just trying to exonerate the core system from maybe a microphone or some other piece of like a terminal unit or something like that?
That's affirmative, flight.
Okay.
Flight rendezvous?
Rendezvous.
If the crew wants, they can do a COVAR reunit on Spec 33. It's an item 16.
Spec 33, item 16.
It will bring state vector a little closer to the radar.
Okay.
Atlantis Houston on the Big Loop, recommend a Spec 33, item 16, COVAR reunit.
Spec 33, item 16, we'll do that, and we're pretty much straight off the HHL filter value now, Houston.
Can we copy that?
Okay, real good, Fergie.
Flight rendezvous?
Rendezvous.
This is more for the room. Right now, the filtered state's good, but as we get closer, radar will wander. So awareness may go down a little bit since we don't have TCS.
Okay, not a problem. Max flight.
Go ahead, flight.
Well, we got a few quiet moments. Walk me through your thought process on moving forward on vent doors.
Forward plan is to do yet another vent RTC, and while we have the command actively hot, we'll ask the crew to cycle the circuit breaker, the AC2 mid-4.
Mm-hmm. In the event that maybe it's an intermittent mechanical thing and we can drive the doors closed.
Correct.
Got it. And if that fails?
If that fails, then we're looking at a hip pocket IFM to try and get the vent door closed.
All right. And what's the big picture of that particular hip pocket?
It doesn't exist.
Sure.
So we're going to have to attempt to go behind MA-73 Charlie and repower the bus feeding the motor.
I see. Okay. So either way, the end game here is to try to drive those vent doors closed.
That's correct.
Okay. And if we can't drive them closed, we can't bring the bird home.
That's exactly right.
I got it. So just to close the loop here, walking us through our thought process in this situation, since we can't come home in the config we're in right now, the smart thing to do is to go dock. Obviously, dock to ISS is probably the best and safest place for us to think about performing an IFM on this part of the system, correct?
That is correct.
All right.
That's my recommendation.
And then worst case, if we aren't able to gain traction on this, we would declare CSCS, and of course we have our plan for CSCS for this crew.
That's correct.
All right, I understand it. Anybody have any questions on that before we get back to flying the ship here?
15 seconds to window open.
All right, good summary, Max, thanks.
Station Houston, Atlantis on the big loop. Initiating RPM in 3, 2, 1, mark.
Two-minute standover.
Flight GNC, we are free drift in the RPM.
Copy.
Station Atlantis on the big loop. Start photos. Copy, start photos.
Heading over.
Inco, we're going to do some troubleshooting for you.
Inco copies. And flight, we have a good forward link.
Okay, thank you.
Atlantis, Houston, comm check, air to ground 2.
Station Atlantis, end photos. Station copies, end photos.
Atlantis, Houston, big loop. We just did a comm check on air to ground 2. Did you hear us?
Negative on the big loop.
Okay. Roger, air to ground 2 down for now.
All right, so not up or down, Inco.
Copy.
Inco copies. Flight Ecom.
Ecom.
We see airlock fan act and ODS volume prep.
Airlock fan act and ODS volume prep.
Stevie Ray, give us one more comm check on air to ground 2, good.
Hey, Atlantis, Houston, comm check, air to ground 2.
Okay, Houston, nothing heard.
Okay, yeah, we gave you one.
Inco copies.
Flight Max, we see the crew working docking mechanism power up.
Okay, copy.
Houston, for docking mechanism power up.
I'm with you on page 8-5.
Flight Contingency, we're back in auto.
Thank you.
Steven, step 2, for heater's DCU power, the heater DCU power switch A doesn't want to stay on. I'm going to go ahead and try it one more time. I put it on, held it for a little while, and it popped off. I'm going to do it again.
Break, Flight Max, do not have them reset it.
Negative, Sandy, don't do that. Stand by.
Okay, think it's tripping off.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a circuit breaker.
All right. Just take a minute, think about it, and let us know what you want to do.
Give us a second, Flight, thanks.
All right.
Yeah, Sandy, those things are actually, as you know, circuit breakers. And so we're looking at our telemetry and try to decide what to do next.
Okay, I'll hold here at step 2. Let me know when you want me to continue, either with step 3 or do something with that switch.
Will do.
Roger.
Radar message is expected, correct?
Concur, Flight.
Flight Max for docking mech power up.
Max, go ahead.
Flight, this switch only powers heaters. We're going to have them press ahead in the procedure as written and leave the switch in the off position.
Okay.
The H1 switch.
All right, that's the H1 switch?
Correct.
All right, got it.
Atlantis, Houston for Sandy. Okay, we're going to press on from where we are. We're going to leave that one switch in the off position. It's heaters only, and we think we can do without it.
Good read.
Okay, very good. Continuing step 3.
GNC, how do we look?
Flight GNC, it looks like the RPM is complete.
Okay, very good.
Flight Rendezvous?
Rendezvous.
We'll give the crew the option if they want to take data, they can. It's an item 17, 20, and 23 on spec 33.
Item 17, 20, and 23?
That's correct, but
on spec 23?
33, sorry.
33, okay.
Atlantis Houston, Big Loop, your option to take data, spec 20 or spec 33, 17, 20, and 23.
And they did start the torpor flight.
Copy that. Inco flight.
Flight Inco.
What are your thoughts on air-to-ground 2?
And flight, in the interest of time, we can try a quick switch throw to see if it recovers air-to-ground 2. That'd be on panel C3, ACCU to 2.
Okay. You could swap audio controllers?
Affirmative.
All right.
Atlantis Houston, when you get a chance, one more thing on air-to-ground 2, would you go to C3, swap audio controllers, ACCU, and give us a call on air-to-ground 2?
Good words.
Okay, we copy, thanks. Houston, Atlantis, contact air-to-ground 2.
You are loud and clear, air-to-ground 2. Help me.
You're loud and clear, too.
Hey, that's great.
Inco copies.
Nice job.
Flight Rendezvous?
Rendezvous.
This is for the room and for the ISS room. Without taking TCS and we're not taking radar, our pop's going to be out to lunch. We'll do the best we can with HHL marks, but I wouldn't trust our pop too much at this moment.
Okay, fair enough.
Flight Rendezvous, it's voice activated. It looks like they are taking radar data.
All right.
Houston, Atlantis, air-to-ground 2, range 495.
Much appreciated.
Hey, Houston, on the Big Loop, just looking out at station, it looks like it's yawed about 5 degrees out of attitude. Not sure if that's us, but just thought I'd give you the heads up.
Okay, we'll check.
Sequatzy, copy that. We are Our data shows us an attitude.
Okay, I copy.
No attitude error.
Atlantis, all attitudes check good.
Flight rendezvous. Guess we'll expect to fly out at 30 feet then.
Maybe it'll clean up as we get closer. Thanks.
Okay, and there's always the 30-foot option.
In flight GNC.
GNC.
Flight, not sure if you heard STL on the ISS flight director loop.
Sure did.
Copy.
And Houston, Atlantis for another HHL 457 on the range.
And we copied flight 457.
Roger.
And flight rendezvous.
Rendezvous.
We will owe the crew a go for docking.
Copy that. Okay, folks, I'll give you about 5 minutes to take a look at your rules and your status, and then I'll pull the room for go for docking. Actually, let's do it in about 3. So give you a chance to check your rules. 3 minutes to the poll. Max flight.
Good flight.
Let's see, the rest of docking mech power up look good.
Well, Flight Max, they've actually stopped right at the completion of step 3. We're waiting for steps 4 and 5. I was going to call them once we get on the V-bar.
All right, fair enough. Any traction to be gained on inquiring sooner rather than later? Might there be some telemetry issues or something that...
And we see them working it now.
Okay, got it. Okay, let me have all flight controllers up on the flight loop with a red, please. Okay, at this time for the teams, I would like to get a go, no-go for approach and docking. Fido.
Go.
Rendezvous.
Go.
GC.
Go.
Eagle.
Go.
Max.
Go.
GNC.
Go.
Prop.
Houston, Atlantis, Air Ground 2. We're DP to DP now and 380 on the HHL.
Roger, thank you.
DPS.
Go.
ACO.
Go.
FAO.
Go.
Ecom.
Go.
Surgeon. Go. Inco.
Go.
Capcom.
Go.
Station flight, shuttle flight, my loop.
Stations go for docking.
Station is go for docking. All stations reporting go for docking. We'll advise the crew and press it.
Atlantis, Houston on the big loop. You are go for docking.
Atlantis, copies on the big loop. Go for docking.
Flight rendezvous?
Rendezvous?
Well, as soon as I made the call, it disappeared, but we did have TCS for a little bit. I wanted to make sure that the crew was aware of that.
Okay. I'm going to pretend that that didn't happen, and I'm going to pretend it's still dead. And if it does start talking to me, I'm going to ignore it like it's dead.
It was a reflector swap flight.
Okay.
So it's back now again. I don't know if the crew has it hidden or if they actually have it up, though.
Okay. And just to close the loop with the crew, we're going to advise them that ACS moding lights will not work and that the station crew will be manually commanding free drift. GNC, did I get that correct? ACO, did that sound right to you?
That did sound right to me.
Okay.
Atlantis on the Houston on the big loop. Just to let you know, due to an MDM failure on ISS, the ACS moding lights will not work. So the crew, ISS crew, will be commanding free drift manually, and you'll hear about free drift over the comm as planned per the script.
Okay, we copy that. Thanks, Stevie Ray, for that update.
Hey, also, we're getting TCS. Are you monitoring it, or you're well into your handheld laser and camera angles?
On Air Ground 2, no, we see it, and we're patting Rex on the back as we speak. Glad to have it.
Great.
Flight rendezvous, even though the crew has to do a couple downs, we'll call that V-bar acquisition.
Copy. And Max, what's our status?
Say again, flight.
What's our status? Where do you see the crew?
We see them, we can't tell on step 5 of the lamp test. We were expecting a call down, but everything is complete for the docking mech power up.
Okay.
That we can see. We still have the docking prep, but I'm not expecting that until we get situated on V-bar for a while.
All right.
Two minutes to handover.
Great. We have that problem. You know,
Eagle flight.
Flight Eagle.
I agree with you. We can use it, but it's
So spin the disc.
you bring up
Spin the disc here.
like 167 on the...
Were we down just that one part of main BO15, or do you think we might be down that whole bus?
Hi, Mike.
Just utility outlets flight. We think the bus is fine.
Okay.
We have other insights to the performance of the bus.
Okay.
Handing over. Go for command Teacher Z.
Okay, for the flight control team, right now we're looking like we're about 30 minutes away from docking. Anyone tracking any issues that we haven't already talked about or anything that's popped up as a constraint? Okay, hearing none, we'll keep pressing, and if anything comes up, let us know.
Atlantis on air to ground 2. We'll give you KU for Comm now, if you like.
We're good with that flight.
We'll take it.
We'll take it, thank you.
TPS flying.
Go ahead, flight.
Yeah, just something for you to stick in your to-do list. Given the number of random pieces of equipment that haven't responded to switches or commands when we've sent them today, I'm starting to suspect maybe we might have some other data systems issues here that might be common causes to some of our things. I don't want to mess with it right now, but if you guys aren't already thinking about that and investigating it, just put that on your list.
Copy flight, and actually we were just talking about that. It's looking like the GNC Ohms gimbal and Max's vent door commands can both be traced back to the same cardon channel on FF4.
FF4. You are not paranoid if they really are after you. Okay.
And Flight Max, we concur with what DPS is saying. That it looks, I'm no longer suspecting AC2 mid-4.
Yeah.
It looks to me like it's a commanding problem.
Well, the thing that tipped me off was when we found that breaker very nicely closed and comfortable. Okay.
So I'm no longer PLS for pillow bay doors, but I'm still CSCS for getting that vent door closed.
Okay. We can talk about it a little bit more post-doc.
Copy and concur.
And Flight GNC.
GNC.
Flight was just confirming, Q, that it could be the FF that would take us out of the potential PLS.
Uh-huh. Okay. Well, at least that's something we can investigate further. Okay, good. Good. Sounds like you guys were already talking about it. Thanks.
Flight Inco.
Go ahead.
KU is in comm mode.
KU to comm. Thank you.
And flight rendezvous, 100 feet.
Copy.
Flight Max.
Go ahead.
We still haven't seen the docking prep, so I'd like to call the crew into that.
Okay.
8-7.
Atlantis Houston, air to ground 2. We are ready for docking prep.
Okay, I will power on the docking system with the power and push button. Everything else is completed. The lights are on.
Max copies.
Very good. Thank you.
Okay. Is there something we can't see? We got a telemetry problem, Max?
I took the crew's call to mean that she will take on power, do the power on push button.
Okay.
And she just got it.
All right.
Good config for flight, for docking.
Flight GNC, we have secured some low speed.
Atlantis on Space Air Ground 2. You probably see that, but it looks like the capture lights failed on.
Flight Max, we see damping failed on. We're no-go for docking.
Copy. What do we need to do?
Stand by.
Flight Max, with the capture light failed on, we need to have them over on 8-17. Capture light failed on.
All right. Capture light failed on page 8-17.
And flight rendezvous, I still recommend.
You as well, you probably see that damping is on, and I'm looking at capture light failed on procedure, so I can take PSC power main A and main B off, and then turn them on post-capture if you'd like.
That's a good plan.
That's the plan we want.
That's right where we are, Sandy. Please do that.
Rendezvous?
I was going to say I recommend still pressing the 30 feet.
Concur.
In Atlantis, you're still good to press to 30 feet. We'll re-eval then.
Copy. We'll press to 30.
1 minute to handover.
And Flight Max, we see the PSU power main A and main B off per the capture light failed on procedure.
Copy.
Good config for docking.
Handing over.
Go for Command 171.
What's our status?
Flight Max, the crew has completed all the actions and the capture light failed on. Once we get contact and over on the docking sequence cue card, the crew will take PSU power main A and main B back on per the post-capture items and the capture latch failed on.
Okay.
And there should be no additional deltas for the docking sequence cue card.
Okay, very good. So you're go to press with that plan.
Affirmative.
Got it.
Atlantis Houston on the big loop. APDS is in a good config for docking, so no leans against that. Sandy, you see that there are post-capture steps and the capture light failed on. We'll leave that up to you.
Good words.
I guess per our previous conversation, I understand that the PSU power main A, main B2, both are coming on after we verified there's no physical separation post-capture.
Affirmative.
Exactly. Just refraining that so we all made sure we're caught up. Thanks, Cindy.
And Houston, Atlantis on the big loop. We don't see a flyout required, so we're ready to initiate final approach on your call.
Okay, rendezvous, GNC, ready to press in?
Rendezvous go, if Max's go.
GNC's go.
Max's go.
Let's do it.
Houston shuttle side is go for that.
Copy, commencing final approach.
Flight GNC.
Go ahead.
Flight, I'm hearing ADCO needs us to do a flyout.
ADCO needs us to do a flyout?
In flight rendezvous, I can't comment on that. The crew has the best view. The crew's flying off the centerline camera. Flight rendezvous.
Houston and Houston, Atlantis on the big loop. We are initiating final approach.
Station copies, final approach.
Houston copies.
Flight rendezvous.
Okay, let's ask the crew to hold. We're assessing some attitude errors on the ISS side. Hold the approach, please.
Atlantis Houston on the big loop. We would like you to hold and continue the 30-foot hold. Sorry for the change.
At 30 feet, the crew flies out to 1 degree. As they approach further in, they have a 2 degree
limit. We will hold at 30 feet and stop our approach at this time.
That's a firm. Stand by. Atlantis, just so you know, we're assessing fly-out considerations here. Just keep standing by.
Okay, for the team and for the crew, the ISS team believes that their attitude determination sensor on the Russian side is biased and that the ISS is actually out of attitude by about 2 degrees. They're going to have the Russians switch sensors and snap back into attitude, and then we'll give them a go to press. I think it's about 5 minutes.
And flight rendezvous?
Rendezvous?
Not trying to muddy the water, but if they're holding attitude, we can push in with a 2 degree offset. If they move those 2 degrees, then the crew probably will have a fly out of 2 degrees.
Station flight, or shuttle flight, station flight, the attitude error is growing, so we're about 2 degrees now and it's growing. So we're coordinating with Moscow to get it corrected, and we'll get back in attitude and then give you a call.
Okay, you guys should probably let both spacecraft know the situation on the big loop so that the crews, both crews are aware.
Houston, Atlantis for the flyout. It looks like at 30 feet we didn't see a flyout, but now it's progressed that we do look like we have a little bit of right wing down for about 2 degrees.
We'll take this one.
Okay, Rex, we copy that. We want to let you know that right now we are switching the Russian rate and attitude source, and when we are complete with that, you'll be given a go to proceed.
Okay, we copy, thanks.
Atlantis Houston from the shuttle side, just to add to those good words, the station is slightly out of attitude, and that is growing. We're doing some work on station to fix that, so if you keep holding right there, we'll get station back to the right attitude hold, and then we'll give you a go to go on in.
Okay, we copy. Steve Ray, just let us know when we need to do another flight determination. And just to be clear, the item I was looking at was the roll. Item 16 was right wing down.
Okay, thank you, Rex.
And we copied that flight.
Houston, Atlantis on air to ground 2 for post-docking.
Go ahead, air to ground 2.
Yeah, Steve, just want to clarify, we're looking ahead at the procedure, and with the capture lights on, obviously we can't give you a capture confirmed, so we're going to just give you a no physical separation present if that's the case. Does that work for you guys?
That's a good plan, flight.
Yeah, that sounds great. Thanks for being proactive on that. And Atlantis on air to ground 2. A few minutes ago, the station flight told us that this attitude fix that they're going to do should only take a few minutes, maybe 5-ish, so it's not going to be a long wait.
Copy. Thanks for the update.
Shuttle flight, station flight with an update. Your loop.
Go ahead, sir.
Okay, so we're on a U.S. rate, so the attitude error is about 2.2 degrees and no longer growing. We are coordinating with the Russians to get back on a U.S. attitude source. We're told to expect that in the next couple minutes here, and then a short while to clean up the attitude error. The other option is the shuttle crew could fly out this roll error.
All right, so the error is no longer growing. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
Now, if they do fly this out and the Russians proceed to go back on U.S. source, then they would be reintroducing the error. So I recommend we just continue to sit tight here for an additional couple minutes to give the Russians time to put this in work. We've put in the request for them to switch sources, so let's give them a couple minutes.
So this is a multilateral machine, and we've already got the ball rolling in a certain direction, so we'll let it play out.
Rendezvous copy.
And Quatsi, once we give you a call that we're back in the docking attitude, we should give the crew a call at that point to tell them to verify that it all looks good, see if they need to fly out, and then they should be good to press in from there.
And about how long do you think?
I was told it would take, ADCO 5 minutes to clean up the attitude once they get on a U.S. Attitude source.
Are they commanding that through your S-band, I assume? And about how long do you think we can station keep like this until we start worrying about our gas gauge?
We could hold for at least a few hours.
Okay.
Flight Max. Looking ahead at the station orbiter docking script, because of the situation with the capture light and the damping, I won't be able to make my capture confirmed call until I see the crew activate the PSU powers again.
I understand it.
Atlantis Houston, air to ground 2 status. Still working on attitude over on station side, swapping sensors, then fixing the attitude. It looks like it'll be a few more minutes, but we don't see anything wrong with waiting.
Okay, copy. Thanks for the update, and it definitely is starting to look a little better out the center line camera and out the window.
Okay, sounds good. Once they fix their back and attitude and have the rates down, then we'll ask you to reassess for the flyout.
Copy. Houston, Atlantis, just so you know, if we had to go in right now, we'd probably do an item 15 with about a degree and then press, so it's definitely looking close.
Shuttle flight, station flight, your loop.
Sounds good.
Go ahead, station flight, my loop.
We're on a good reference, attitude reference and rate reference. We show us back in the docking attitude and stable. So you guys are go to give the shuttle words to press in.
Okay, so we are go to press for docking.
And you may want to have them do an attitude flyout if they deem that necessary.
All right, we'll reassess the flyout and give them a go to press.
Good words.
Atlantis Houston on the big loop. Okay, we're back in the game. Station is in docking attitude and stable. Go to reassess the flyout.
And Houston, looks like we're going to make a item 15 change of a degree or two, so we'll put that in and let you know how it looks.
Copy.
Okay, folks, at this point, the crew's going to prepare to press in. Let's hold any calls that don't directly pertain to execution of the capture and hard mate. If you do pick up anything that is a constraint to docking, sing out, please, loudly and succinctly.
Flight GNC, they're doing the flyout.
Copy.
Houston, Atlantis on the big loop. Flyout's complete. We like the picture with your go. We were ready to proceed for final approach.
There you go.
Atlantis on the big loop, your go to initiate final approach.
We copy. Station Atlantis is initiating final approach.
Station copy.
And for the team, I'm looking at Joint Ops 1.107 Station Orbiter Docking Script.
Feet, good RDOT.
PCT armed.
Houston Station on the big loop. Our SMPCS locked up, so we will be sending command on the Russian laptop.
Houston copies.
Contact.
Copy contact.
Capture confirmed.
Shuttle free drift.
Houston Station, looks like we have no physical separation. We assume capture confirmed.
Station copies.
Station copies.
Station flight confirms free drift.
Atlantis on station free drift is confirmed.
Copy, free drift is confirmed.
No action, Spec 88.
No action on the Spec 88 message. Phase Bravo again.
Copies.
A-firm flight.
No action on Spec 88, Atlantis.
Thanks, Steve.
1 minute to handover.
Houston, we see ourselves in step 3.
No watching first.
We're with you, step 3.
Okay, here comes step 3.
Receive step 3 complete. Waiting in step 4.
Handing over.
And Flight Max, we're still seeing a little relative motion, so we're still waiting.
Copy.
Go for command, teacher spare.
Houston, we see ourselves ready for step 6. How about you?
Checking.
Flight Max, we're still seeing a little relative motion. Have a crew stand by.
Please stand by on step 6, still watching a little bit of relative motion, Atlantis.
Copy, standing by.
Flight Max, we'll go for step 6.
Copy.
Atlantis Air Ground 2, your go for step 6.
Copy, here we go. Houston, we're on the flip side of the card in step 8, holding for you, go.
We're evaluating.
Keep holding on step 8.
Flight Max, we'll go for step 8.
Copy.
Atlantis, you are go for step 8.
Copy, we're go for step 8.
We see step 8, rings driving in. Looks like we're at 6.4 on 1 and 3. Oh, there's a contact light.
Houston, we see the contact light on, and we pushed power on push button.
Good call.
Thank you. We concur with that.
And Flight Max, it looks like we were riding on the fixers and one of them failed. The contact indication came on.
Okay.
We are now in the starred block in step 8.
Copy.
Atlantis, for step 8, we see you in the start block now.
Yes, we agree with you, Steve, and we're holding on for ring alignment.
Righto.
Okay, for the team looking forward, if you could take a look at block 22 Alpha on page 4-22 of the rendezvous book. Let me know if you have any deltas.
Flight Max.
Max?
Not for 22 Alpha, but for block 8.
Yes, sir.
Once we're getting alignment very quickly here, so once we get it, we'll have the crew do the ring in per the star block. If while they're driving in, they lose the ring aligned light, we'll have them then do a power on push button to halt the drive again, and we'll wait for alignment.
Houston, we see the ring aligned light back on, so we're starting our 30-second timer.
We concur.
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 So Flight Max, they were previously using the contact telemetry as their cue to halt drive. I want them now to use the ring aligned light since the fixers are no longer functioning correctly.
Copy that. We'll tell them.
In Atlantis, after you push the ring in push button there at the bottom of the start block, as it's ringing in, if you lose the ring aligned light, then do a power on push button push.
Good read.
Okay, Stevie Ray, we see the base position inside of 20, so we think we're pretty good from here on in.
They're correct.
Concur.
Flight Max, hooks are driving, dual motor.
Copy. Okay, while hooks are driving, let me go around the horn here. GNC, any deltas for 22 Alpha?
Negative, Flight.
Prop?
Negative.
Okay, rendezvous, you aware of any?
I have none, Flight.
Okay. Max, you think you guys are going to have any deltas for 22 Alpha?
Negative.
Okay.
Step 14 in work, Houston.
Houston copies.
We're watching. Flight Max, we see 12 hooks closed. We're go for attitude control. Copy.
Houston, with yourselves complete with the docking sequence Q card, we're headed back to air to ground 2 and terminate rendezvous ops block 22A.
Max concurs. We're with him.
Concur, good job. See you on 22 Alpha. And Atlantis air to ground 2, no deltas on 22 Alpha.
All right, we're putting it in work.
Houston and Station Atlantis, we are beginning initial hatch leak checks. We are in post-docking hatch leak check, Houston.
And Flight Econ, we can perform that from the ground.
We'll take care of that from the ground.
And Atlantis, Houston shuttle on the big loop, we'll take care of that from the ground.
And in the meantime, Ecom, you want them to go grab a towel and check the LEB for water force?
Flight Econ, it's a little more complicated than that. Give us just a minute to get work together.
Pick up on leak checks on our side.
Fair enough.
Jeff, you have to go.
And Stevie Ray, I understand you're going to do the post-docking hatch leak check from the ground, and in step 5, when it's complete, you will call us and let us know when we're ready for vestibule pressurization. Is that correct?
Affirm.
Absolutely correct, Atlantis.
Very good. Just make sure I understood. Thank you.
You bet.
Flight prop.
Go.
Our steps in step 1 of 22 Alpha are complete.
Thank you.
Shuttle Flight ACO for MPLM troubleshooting.
Go ahead.
I've got flight note 12 out there for you to look at when you got some time. This is our plan for the troubleshooting of the MPLM telemetry. We'll be looking for some time to do that here this afternoon.
Okay. Well, why don't you and FAO chat about that, and then we'll take a look at the details.
Flight FAO chat complete.
All right.
We're looking at doing this on pilot right after we power down.
Atlanta, Block 22 Alpha. You ready for LVLH, kind of the middle of the left-hand column?
GNC is ready for that.
We'll take it.
Houston is ready for LVLH on the depth.
Flight DPS.
And flight GNC.
GNC, go ahead.
We selected LVLH on the depth. We are back into attitude control.
Okay.
Flight FAO, when the crew's ready, we'll go to maneuver. 3-26, flight plan.
DPS, go ahead.
Flight DPS, just wanted to get a go to uplink our nominal docked VPs.
You have a go.
Houston, station 1 on the big loop.
Go ahead, Jeff, with you on the big loop.
Okay, I'm in 2.102, step 3.3. You ready to copy numbers?
We're ready.
Okay, GMT 2005, pressure is 754.
Copy all.
Flight Max, we see the crew working, docking mechanism power on.
Okay, very good.
Houston, that's beautiful. This has got to be one of the most proud moments of my life, I guarantee you.